So in the last lecture, we have discussed we have set certain objectives for the session, that is to understand the scope of the subject, novel drug delivery system, then to see the learning objectives for the course, to understand and furthermore course content and the reference books. So moving towards the, so in the last lecture we have discussed the course content, that is unit 1, and I think so from unit 2 we have seen the microencapsulation. So moving towards the unit 2 next beat, that is the mucoadhesive drug delivery system, or as in the syllabus it is given as the mucosal drug delivery systems. So on the slide you are observing so many pictures. I have shown here how it is possible to use the, to place the mucoadhesive drug delivery system into the buccal cavity. All these formulations, there are so many formulations are available in the market, and as you know that for buccal route of administration, the main advantage is it bypasses the first pass metabolism and automatically, which improves the therapeutic outcome and therapeutic efficacy of the drug product. Furthermore, in certain cases it is not at all possible to use the parenteral drug delivery or rectal, or so many other options are not available with us. In such cases it is possible to use the buccoadhesive drug delivery systems. So we are going to learn here in this unit 2 second bit, that is the mucosal drug delivery system. We are going to discuss the introduction, the very important thing, very important aspect, that is principle of bioadhesion or mucoadhesion. We are going to discuss the concepts, we are going to discuss the advantages, we are going to discuss the disadvantages, then we are going to discuss the transmucosal permeability and formulation considerations of the buccal drug delivery systems. So ultimately in this chapter we are going to discuss the background concept of bioadhesion or mucoadhesion, then the advantages and disadvantages of the mucoadhesive or mucoadhesive drug delivery systems. Then we are going to discuss the main aspect, that is the transmucosal permeability and formulation considerations for the buccal drug delivery systems. Yes, why there is a need to discuss, see, advantages, disadvantages, that will help us to design the buccoadhesive formulation. Then by considering the bioadhesion and mucoadhesion, that will help us to how much time the formulation is going to be retained into the specific area. So so that is very important. Is there any mucoadhesive polymer is available in the market? Naturally it is available, or any synthetic, semi synthetic? Maybe you are aware about the carbapol 934p, that is P stands for pharmaceutical grade. So carbapol, it is having the good mucoadhesive property, and it is possible to formulate and design some mucoadhesive drug delivery systems by using the carbapol 934p. But it is not having a, it is not a good matrix former. Means as we want to design, we want to formulate the mucoadhesive drug delivery systems, we have to suppose to think about the polymer which is having a good mucoadhesive property. But ultimately furthermore, whenever we are designing any patch or film or any tablet, then again the matrix integrity is also important, isn't it? So in that, in a specific case, again we have to suppose to select the certain polymers which will give us the good matrix integrity. So by combining the carbapol 934p and hydroxypropyl methyl cellulose, it is possible to design and develop good mucoadhesive drug delivery system for the various routes like buccal for the oral route of administration, for the rectal route of administration, for vaginal route of administration, and so on. So specifically in this chapter, we are going to discuss the background. We are going to discuss the principles of bioadhesion and mycoadhesion, theories of bioadhesion and mycoadhesion, then various concepts and advantages and disadvantages. Then furthermore, we are going to discuss the transmucosal permeability, because ultimately suppose that we have designed the formulation, and if the drug is not having the good permeability through the mucosa, it is not useful, isn't it? So there is a need to understand the permeability through this transmucosal side, and formulation considerations along with the evaluation of buccal drug delivery system. So this is the second bit from the unit 2, which comprises the mucoadhesive drug delivery system. Now moving towards the next point from the unit 2, which comprises the implantable drug delivery system. These are the certain devices in which the drug is enclosed into the suitable polymer. Say for example, take example of a rod, which is in the core contains the drug, which is dispersed into the suitable polymer and which is being coated by using a suitable polymer to get the rod shape, isn't it? And same this device which is to be inserted below the skin. So whatever the things are there, itself the name indicate that it is embedded into the tissues, isn't it? That is the implantable drug delivery system. So we are going to discuss the introduction, we are going to discuss advantages, disadvantages, concept of implant and the osmotic pumps. Here I have shown the figure how it is to be inserted into the skin. There is one device which is available in the market, that is NDS Mini. Then the device inserter is also there, or it is said to be the cannula, and through which the device is inserted below the skin. The device actually contains, look at the figure, there is a silicone cap is present, then drug which is present in the solution form. Outer side, it is made up of the SS stainless steel. It's a stainless steel capsule, isn't it? In which the drug is enclosed or drug is filled. There is one nanoporous membrane, it is present at the top, through which the drug is going to be diffused into the systemic circulation or into the skin, from skin to the systemic circulation, isn't it? So these are the things related with the implantable drug delivery system. So this is the third bit from the unit 2. So moving towards the unit number 3, that is the transdermal drug delivery system. So we are going to discuss the introduction, then permeation through skin, factors affecting to permeation, then permeation enhancers, basic components of transdermal drug delivery system, and formulation approaches. As you know that the stratum corneum, it is the, look at the figure, here you will observe the skin anatomy, and anatomically it consists of the three layers, that is epidermis, dermis, and subcutaneous tissue. And epidermis consists of the stratum corneum, and which limits the entry of drug into the skin or into the systemic circulation. So while designing of any of the formulation, patch, or transdermal drug delivery system, we have to suppose to consider the physicochemical properties of the drug. We have to suppose to consider the properties related to the skin, properties related to the environment, properties related to the exposure of skin, and so on. So we are going to deal, or we are going to discuss the background or introduction of transdermal drug delivery system, then permeation through skin. because it is not at all possible to permeate the drug through the stratum corneum. Whatever the remaining layers are there, it is possible, but we have to suppose to think how to crack the stratum corneum, uh, because it is one of the rate limiting step to permeate the drug through the stratum corneum. So we have to suppose to think about the permeation enhancers which are widely used along with the transdermal drug delivery systems. Furthermore, we are going to discuss the factors affecting to permeation. Which are the different factors? Because if we have designed the drug delivery system or formulation for the systemic effects means what is a topical and what is a systemic. Topical means it is simply we are getting the effect topically. Say for example, diclofenac, we have applied the gel of diclofenac sodium in the specific area, so we will get the pain relief for the specific zone or specific area. But suppose we have prepared the transdermal patch of propranolol hydrochloride. It is antihypertensive drug. Propranolol hydrochloride should cross the screen barrier. It should reach to the systemic circulation. From systemic circulation, it reaches to the specific or target site, and then it will elicit the action. So that is the main difference. That is a topical effect and systemic effect. So here we are designing the transdermal drug delivery system for the systemic effect. No doubt, sometimes it may be for the topical effect, but always in more than 90% of cases it is designed for the systemic effects. So there is a need to consider the various factors which are going to affect the permeation through the skin, and we are going to discuss the mechanisms of the various permeation enhancers definition, then its classification, and mechanism involved in the permeation enhancers. Then we will move towards the basic components of transdermal drug delivery system and its formulation approaches. So here I have shown the example of not example, I have shown in the figure, I have shown here the transdermal patch which is placed on the skin, isn't it? And it is going to deliver the content into the systemic circulation via skin. There are so many approaches are there. We are going to consider the basic component because we require the matrix, we require the adhesives and so on, then backing membrane. So we'll discuss the various components along with the formulation approaches for the transdermal drug delivery system. So moving towards the next beat, in the next beat of the unit 3, we are going to discuss the gastroretentive drug delivery system. Yes, conventionally, no doubt, this is something very specific to the oral route of administration. As you know that conventionally it is possible to swallow the tablet by oral route of administration, and within 30 minutes it is going to release the content into the gastrointestinal tract, and same is going to be absorbed into the systemic circulation and it elicits the pharmacological action, right? But there are certain, as I have already discussed, there are certain drawbacks, there are certain limitations in which it is not at all possible to deliver the drug by in a conventional manner like immediate release formulation. So in these cases we are using the gastro retention approach to to deliver the drug into the systemic circulation. So here itself name indicate that there is a gastro retention, that is the formulation or tablet, it is going to be retained into the stomach for longer period of time. Say for example, it is formulation is going to be retained for approximately 8 to 24 hours, 8 to 24 hours into the stomach, and it continuously releases the drug into the stomach, and same amount is going to be absorbed into the systemic circulation. So this is about the gastroretentive drug delivery system, and we are going to discuss the introduction of gastroretentive drug delivery system, then advantages of gastroretentive drug delivery system, then various approaches for gastroretentive drug delivery system. In the figure itself, I have shown here the some approaches. Also, I have shown how the formulation is going to be floated into the gastrointestinal fluid. This is a stomach, which is I have shown it in a yellow color and blue color tablet as stomach, which is filled with the certain fluid or which contains certain fluid, and the formulation is going to be floated into the stomach and which is going to be retained for longer period of time. And the example is losartan. For drug formulation, it is prepared by using the hydroxyethyl cellulose, chitosan, and sodium bicarbonate. Here, the sodium bicarbonate, it is used as a gas generating agent. Chitosan, it is used as a mucoadhesive or matrix former. Similarly, hydroxyethyl cellulose, it is also used as the matrix former or release modulator. So our ultimate aim is to retain the formulation into the GIT. There are four approaches are there: either to make the formulation to float into the GIT, so automatically it is not going to be emptied into the duodenum or small intestine. So this is one approach, that is floating drug delivery system. Then the second approach, that is the swelling of dosage form. If the dosage form is going to be swelled in a large extent, if this is a more than say for example 2 mm, so these particles are going to be retained for a longer period of time into the stomach. As you know already, you have gone through the physiology of the or total I mean to say the um, digestive system, isn't it, in anatomy and physiology? Yes. So the next approach, that is the mucoadhesive drug delivery system, or adhesion of a formulation to the stomach wall. So in this case, we have to suppose to use certain mucoadhesive polymers. So they are having the ability to adhere to the mucosa, and it is going to be retained for certain period of time into the stomach. And the last approach, that is known as the sedimentation of pellet due to high density. Yes, low density particles, high density particles. Low density particles are going to float onto the gastric content, while high density particles, they are going to be they are going to be settled at the bottom, and thereby it is possible to achieve the gastro retention. So there are four approaches are there, 4 to 5 approaches are there. That is by preparing a floating, by preparing the swellable systems, by preparing the adhesive systems, or by preparing the high density or low density preparation, so as to it is possible to achieve the gastro retention. So in this chapter, we are going to discuss the introduction, we are going to discuss the advantages, we are going to discuss the disadvantages, approaches for gastroretentive drug delivery systems, that is floating, high density systems, then inflatable and gastroadhesive systems, along with their applications. Okay, so this is about the gastroretentive drug delivery systems. Nasal and pulmonary drug delivery system, nasopulmonary drug delivery systems. Already we have discussed in the introduction part. Here I have shown the two pictures. One lady which is going to be inhale the certain drugs, or maybe it contains the powder or liquid formulation through the nasal tract. And the second figure, which I have shown how the content or formulation, it is delivered to the respiratory tract. So in all, it is said to be the nasopulmonary drug delivery system. So we are going to discuss the introduction to nasal and pulmonary routes of drug delivery. What are the different advantages, disadvantages by using these route, in which cases it is possible to use, isn't it? So nasal route of administration and pulmonary route of administration. If we want to target the say for example tubercular infection, it is possible to use the pulmonary route, isn't it? because whatever the mycobacterium is there, it is present in the respiratory tract. And if we are targeting the GIT, if we are targeting the only nasal tract, it is not that much useful. No doubt systemic drug delivery is available, but in order to minimize the toxicities of the drug, it is possible to formulate the pulmonary drug delivery for the anti-tubercular drugs like isoniazid, rifampicin, and so on, isn't it? Similarly, the nasal route of administration, it is widely used. Widely, as you know that it is not at all possible to target the brain. It is not at all possible to deliver the drug to the brain, isn't it? And only there is a way to target the brain, that is use of nasal route of administration. If we are going to place the drop of the drop which contains the drug into the nasal tract, automatically it is going to be reach into the brain automatically, because blood brain barrier, it is not present in the specific region, isn't it? So there is a need to consider, or we are going to discuss the introduction to nasal route of administration, introduction to pulmonary route of administration, and furthermore we are going to discuss the formulations of inhalers, that is dry powder and metered dose, then nasal sprays and nebulizers, isn't it? So this is about the nasopulmonary drug delivery systems under the unit 3. Then unit 4. In the case of unit 4, we are going to discuss the targeted drug delivery system. Just now we have talked about the, or rather we have discussed the nasal route of administration. If we want to target the brain, we have to suppose to use the nasal route of administration, isn't it? So which will bypass the blood brain barrier. If we want to target the brain, yes, definitely we have to suppose to use the prodrug approach, isn't it? Prodrugs are having a, they are highly lipophilic in nature if we have prepared likewise, so automatically it gets entered into the brain. Similarly, if if we want to use there is a, say suppose that the person is suffering from the cancer and we have to suppose to target the specific region, target the specific organ, it is possible by using the targeted drug delivery system concepts. So we are going to deal with the, here there are so many formulations are there which are related to the nano suspension, then nano emulsion, liposomes, nuosomes, resealed erythrocytes, and so on. So many approaches are there which are available over there under the targeted drug delivery systems, and we are going to discuss the concepts, then the various approaches which are related with the targeted drug delivery system, then advantages and disadvantages, then introduction to liposomes, nuosomes, nanoparticles, monoclonal antibodies, and their applications. So we are going to discuss specifically liposomes, nuosomes, nanoparticles, monoclonal antibodies, and their applications, isn't it? So this is about the targeted drug delivery system, isn't it? So moving towards the next unit, yes, it's unit number 5, and it's ocular drug delivery system. So here you are observing the two figures. One, that is the, there is a eye drop installation figure. Just look at the eye drop installation figure, how the drug is going to be instilled into the ophthalmic cavity, isn't it? And look at the second figure, after installation and after a few minutes after installation, whatever the drug is there, it gets drained, isn't it? Why it is to so? Why it is to so? Due to the, due to the less mucoadhesion, or its retention capacity is very less, isn't it? Through the tear fluid, it gets drained, isn't it? So we are in this approach, that is novel drug delivery system approach for ocular drug delivery, we are going to deal with the preparing certain formulations or designing of certain formulations which will retain in the ophthalmic cavity for a longer period of time. Because whenever we are instilling the liquid formulation, it is not going to retain for more than 2 to 3 minutes. And also the ophthalmic cavity volume, it is around 10 to 50 microliter or less than 10 microliter itself, isn't it? And whatever the remaining drug is there, it is going to be drained out. So it's a very challenging to deliver the drug to the eye. There is a one second figure. Look at the figure. There is a one insert is there which is inserted into the eye, that is known as the occlusert. It is a film, kind of film which contains the drug. Kind of film which contains the drug. So this film is going to be retained into the ophthalmic cavity for a longer period of time. Maybe say, for example, 12 hours, 24 hours, which contains the drug. It is a transparent in nature. So it is possible to view. Means there is no any vision problem for the occlusers if we have designed in a such a way. So these are the alternative ways of the or the novel approaches by which we can deliver the drug into the ophthalmic cavity. So in the ocular drug delivery system, we are going to discuss the introduction, then intraocular barriers, then methods to overcome preliminary uh, methods to overcome these barriers, then certain preliminary study, ocular formulations, and occlusets. So these are the things which we are going to discuss under the ocular drug delivery system. Moving towards the next point, that is the, or rather it's last point, I think so. Let us see. It's a intrauterine drug delivery system. Yes, all these are the IUDs, and all these are widely used. And maybe you are aware about the, here I have shown the figure, that is a copper T. It is having a shape like a, it's a T shaped, isn't it? And which contains the copper, and it releases the copper continuously for a long period of time. So that is it is considered to be the intrauterine drug delivery system. So we are going to discuss the introduction, then advantages, then disadvantages, then the development of intrauterine devices and its applications. Nowadays, there is a lot of the developments are there in the intrauterine drug delivery system. Initially, it is came up with the copper T, but now it is possible to deliver the drug by these delivery systems. For example, the progesterone is there, which can be delivered uh, by using intrauterine drug delivery system. So this is about the intrauterine drug delivery system, and we are going to discuss the introduction, advantages, disadvantages, then development of IUDs and their applications. Here I have shown here the second figure, which contains IUDs, hydrogels, then scaffolds and shell seeds. Just consider the IUDs, hydrogels, and scaffolds. IUDs, no doubt it can be used by intrauterine. Hydrogels, yes, it is possible to use the hydrogel for intrauterine drug delivery system. Scaffolds, yes, we can. Shell sheets, yes, it is possible, isn't it? But we are going to discuss only the intrauterine devices under the intrauterine drug delivery systems, their formulation, evaluation, and applications. So moving towards the next, yes. So here it's a, so we have discussed the course content. Till now we have discussed the scope of the subject, we have discussed the learning objectives, we have discussed the course content. The course content, which includes the controlled drug delivery systems, polymers for the controlled drug delivery system, microencapsulated drug delivery systems, mucoadhesive drug delivery systems, gastroretentive drug delivery system, then transdermal drug delivery systems, ocular drug delivery systems, targeted drug delivery systems, intrauterine drug delivery systems, and so on. Means almost 8 to 10 drug delivery systems we are going to discuss during the uh, this year, and we are going to deal with the various factors which are going to deal with the formulation aspects, which we are going to deal with the evaluation aspects. So at the end of year it is possible for you to formulate and evaluate any of these drug delivery systems. So basic thing is that you should have the sufficient knowledge about the pharmacology of the specific drug. You should have the sufficient knowledge about the ADME of the drug. You should have the sufficient knowledge about the physicochemical properties of the drug. You should have the sufficient knowledge about the system or approach which is utilized for making the specific device or novel drug formulation. So uh, it is possible to formulate the novel drug delivery systems for any of the drug. Only thing is that you should develop the your capabilities or your capacity to understand the physicochemical properties of drug and polymer, how it is to be used. Say always it is not possible to combine the drug with the X polymer, because there might be certain drug interactions are there, drug to polymer interactions are there. So again there may be the stability issues are there. Means there are so many things are there which we have to supposed to consider before designing the any device, any system, or before formulating the any of the formulation from the novel drug delivery system. That is the main and key thing which you should know. Means before formulating you should know the physicochemical properties of the drug, physicochemical properties of the polymer, then you should know the biological effects of the drug, and why it is it is to be manufactured, or it is to be prepared as a controlled device or controlled formulation or novel drug delivery system. What are the advantages we will get by designing the any of the drug as a accused, or as a controlled drug delivery, or as a gastroretentive drug delivery system, isn't it? So these are the things which we are going to discuss during this session. And let us move towards the references which are used for the, means you have to supposed to refer for the specific subject. So very first reference as per your syllabus, that is novel drug delivery system by Chin, isn't it? Then the second book, that is the controlled drug delivery system by Robinson. So both the books are published by the Marcel Decker. Then the third book, that is Encyclopedia of Controlled Drug Delivery, which is published by the Wille Interscience. And there are two more reference books are there, which are from the India, that is Controlled Drug Delivery System, Controlled and Novel Drug Delivery System by N.K. Jain, published by CBS Publisher, and Controlled Drug Delivery System, Controlled Drug Delivery Concepts and Advances by Vyas and Khar, published by the Vallabh Prakashan. So these are the 5 books. I think so. Apart from this book, these books you can refer the Brahmankar and Jaiswal chapter number 14, that is the controlled release medication, at least for the concepts and ideas. You will get the just read the chapter number 14 from Brahmankar and Jaiswal, and that will help you, or that will explore the whole subject in the 100 pages. These 5 books You will get the content from the internet by referring various research articles published by the renowned authors, which are peer reviewed. See, look at the slide, how the references are written, isn't it? And maybe no doubt you are going to come up with the, in this year, there are two other major important things are there. One is a practice school and second one is a project. So try to get something new from your teacher and implement those things that will be helpful for you. So today's session is over. Rather than within 1.5 lectures, we have finished with the course content, isn't it? Now session is open for the discussion. If you have any problem, what you do, you just you can mail me at Dr. Kailas Mali for you at gmail.com. You can save my number, already I have displayed on the slide, and